Back in the 90s and 2000s, kids grew up watching cartoons that were goofy, entertaining, and at the same time always gave us, the audience, something to learn at the end of every show, like this. Or wait, I meant this one. No, maybe this one.
My unmatched perspicacity, coupled with sheer indefatigability.
Okay, you get the point. Cartoons used to be fun, and I couldn't wait to get back home from school to watch Superman or the Powerpuff Girls or my favorite cartoon of all time that had a dog in it, Dynamite. I meant to say Scooby-Doo, everyone's favorite cartoon of all time that had a dog in it. So when I heard it was getting a new remake again, I was so excited, I was hyped up, my heart was beating so fast and my lungs were working overtime because I couldn't contain my excitement. And when the show eventually came out, we just got this. Where's Scooby? Who's this character who thinks roasting everybody with racially motivated jokes gives off main character energy? Okay, maybe I'm not too smart. Maybe I'm not intellectual enough to get the message this show is trying to pass through its commentary on society and cultural acceptance. So let's see what other people on the internet have to say about this show.
Oh my God!
Hey, how's it going and welcome back to my channel. First off, happy new year to everyone. I hope you all enjoyed the holidays as much as I did, and I hope you spent some time with your friends and family because that's the most important thing out of every other thing in life. And shout out to the people who checked up on me on Discord and Instagram. Y'all are the real MVPs because it's actually been a really long time since I last uploaded a video. So let's just let sleeping dogs lie. Speaking of dogs, HBO's Velma finally came out and everyone rushed to see it with different perceptions of what the show will turn out to be. And I finally got to watch it myself before making this video, and
if I ever even think about getting into 420 culture, or especially 420 related humor, kill me. You know what 420 is, right?
Yeah, it's code for adults who still watch cartoons.
It's so bad. This show is abysmal, truly awful. It is far too self-referential, much like the initial trailer, talking about different tropes. The plot was terrible, even with the very first episode. I assure you that the original Scooby-Doo, which was made for younger children, will be far more entertaining than this god-awful show. Absolutely awful. I tried. I really did. Show sucks. Character sucks. Mindy should never even produce a show. Everybody and their dog literally hate this show after watching the very few episodes that just aired, and now it's almost completely over and everyone's opinions haven't changed. Almost all of us had our entire YouTube homepage just covered with videos talking about how bad the show was, and people were just roasting Mindy Kaling for probably making the worst reboot of a character ever. And after receiving so much criticism about her show, guess what Mindy had to say?
I am the one, the way your son don't need a gun to get respect up on the street. Under the sun, the back.
So according to Mindy Kaling, she thinks people are criticizing the show because she race swapped a couple of the characters and then also made Velma of Indian descent, which is just like a self-insert of herself in the Velma character, since apparently she's the one who also voiced Velma. And obviously we all prefer characters to be left as whatever race they were canonically known as. And if you're all for representation and you want to make a show with a diverse cast or just characters that are from different ethnicities, you're better off creating an original show with diverse characters that are well written with solid motivations and backstories. But while Velma, on the other hand, Velma is just another mess. I don't even know where to start with this one. Now, my criticism for Velma has nothing to do with her race or skin tone and is mainly focused on how fundamentally lackluster she was written. Her dialogue is so clunky, she tries to snap back at everybody with unnecessary half-baked witty lines and tries to bring in racially motivated humor as punchlines of her jokes. And she tries so hard to be so self-aware and use self-deprecative humor to make the audience think she is relatable, but it just feels off the more she keeps using it. She constantly feels the need to remind the audience and every other character in the show that she's the smartest person in the room. She honestly reminds me of those kids in school that try so hard to be the teacher's favorite student, so they just keep asking for homework even when the teacher says it's chill and everyone should go home. Like, Honestly, bro, no one cares. You're probably not going to use that Monday morning homework in real life. Go spend that time learning dropshipping or something else you can use to escape the matrix. My initial thoughts when I watched the trailer last year before the show eventually came out were,
we need emotional content.
and it was quite obvious they were basically using race baiting to lure people into watching it, and if only the writing was good enough, it probably would have made a decent enough show to entertain the audience that's literally begging for good shows. But now, after watching a couple of episodes that have been aired already, I can promise you that it was far worse than I expected. So there's a murderer on the loose and Velma has to get herself together and find out who it is, and for some reason she stopped being a detective because of these panic attacks she keeps on having anytime she tries to solve a mystery, which is basically caused by her guilt because she feels her mom left her and her dad because of her, and the way they just portrayed the panic attacks just make panic attacks seem like you're literally possessed with a demon in your body. This is not how panic attacks feel, and it kind of looks insensitive for people watching this who go through severe anxiety and panic attacks on a daily basis. The Puss in Boots showed what an actual panic attack feels like without making it look too weird or exaggerated. Hell, even Naruto had a better panic attack scene than this. I guess they were just trying to make it look edgy and different from what every other show has shown us, which is how they just approach almost every other thing in the show. Daphne starts out being totally mean to Velma, and she has two mothers in the show apparently. They also made Shaggy a rather flat character who has a crush on Velma, but then he eventually gets his heart broken when he finds Velma sharing a kiss from Daphne, which happens to be another way to cure a panic attack apparently. Imagine you're having a serious panic attack and you're freaking out at the gas station. Your heart is throbbing and the only person you can kiss is the homeless guy sitting at the corner waiting to ask you for some loose change.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
You see how that doesn't make any sense? If they wanted to make the characters gay, just make them gay. You don't need to force it in or try to make it just happen like it's something super important in the plot of the entire show. And I believe Velma was already canonically gay, I guess, in the original show, but I'm not sure if it was ever confirmed in any of the older episodes. Fred is probably the character that suffers the most in this aneurysm of a show. From being the strong lead character we all knew him to be, a guy that could stand up for himself and hold the team together in the original shows, like the IGL in your squad who just knows the best routes to rotate and knows how to keep everybody safe and basically carry the whole squad to a victory royale. Well, they made him a spoiled, overgrown rich kid now and turned him into Velma's punching bag. Why? What even is this show? What happened to making remakes that actually paid tribute to the original source material? Because this is clearly stepping on the source material and treating it like it's worthless. So after I sat through the painful hours it took to get through watching a few of the episodes that were released while casually drawing and scrolling through TikTok at the same time, because Lord knows I need something to take my mind from this thing I was watching. Here are some of my reasons as to why the Velma show sucks. The dialogue. Out of all the adult-oriented cartoon shows I've seen so far, this show probably has the worst dialogue I have ever heard. At every given point, the show is always trying to remind us, the audience, that this was designed for adults and it's mature and isn't afraid to push boundaries with their socio-political commentary. And also this forcefully self-aware humor. It's so hard to just sit and listen to the characters banter about situations while constantly telling us the reason these situations are happening is because they happen constantly in real life and it's our fault because we let it happen. And the characters are so smart because they're talking about it in the show. Like, we get it. You're one of those people who spend time on Twitter and you also read comments and reply with L-take and edgy memes and try to ratio people every time. Almost every other line of dialogue in the show is just another forced, unnecessary woke take or an unfunny joke that is aimed at making fun of a character for their race or their sexuality or something else that will probably get you likes if you posted it on Twitter. Which brings me to the next thing that sucks the very life out of me in this show, the jokes. Where do I begin? Immediately I saw the scene with the roaches bumping themselves, I just knew this was going to be a mess and started questioning what I had signed myself up for. The show relies on this heavy use of meta humor every chance it gets, and Velma is portrayed as overly smart to the point where she instantly overshadows literally everyone else in the show with just how self-absorbed she is. And then she uses these edgy jokes the moment she gets an opportunity to snap at a character or a situation that just happened in the show. Most of the jokes just land abruptly and come off as unfunny or just offensive. It's as if the writers intentionally made Velma to be annoying and unlikable to the point where it's so obvious that the show is trying to make you just hate her and then begin to connect with her later on in the show as her character develops. But just because of how unfunny the jokes are, almost all the characters become unlikable after listening to them talk and then forcefully try to end every conversation with a joke or pop culture reference that is aimed at poking at something we the audience are supposed to find funny because we've either seen it in other shows or in real life. Like, yeah, this works when it's used sparingly and in places where it either fits into the scene that is happening or it pushes the conversation the characters are having further. The show overly uses meta humor to the point where it's just so annoying to listen to after every few lines of dialogue. Like, come on bro, just let the characters have normal dialogue between themselves and resolve their conflicts without everything being about edgy jokes or being witty while making the characters look so stupid. Take the first few seasons of Game of Thrones for example. The dialogue between the characters was impeccable and each of the characters had a few witty lines that you'll find funny, especially if it was part of the character's traits. And the scenes with Varys and Lord Baelish were always fun to watch because they were characters that were always trying to outsmart each other and one-up themselves, which gave us scenes with very witty dialogue and it was so good to listen to. Let's not talk about the later seasons though. Those never happened. Well, at least one of the good things I actually enjoyed while watching the show was the art and the animation. The show has really good art direction, the character design is really good and fun to look at, and the lighting and colors are great and work well with the animation style. Especially the scenes where Velma has her panic attacks and she's trying to fight off the voices in her head, and the lighting changes to show you how traumatized she is and how she's battling her demons, which is probably the only good thing I can say I enjoyed about the show. Now, some people had issues with the show because the characters' races were swapped for some reason, but then again I can manage it because the races of the characters really didn't affect the story or anything in the original Hanna-Barbera show, and I just hate the fact that modern day television has become a shit show of who can make the audience mad the most by race swapping characters and using race baiting to get free publicity for your show because they obviously know that people are going to be so mad and make videos like this and talk about it on Twitter and every other open platform where discourse can be had, and the more people argue, the more they just get free clout for their show, and obviously people are just going to hate watch the show, which just keeps on giving people who produce these shows more reasons to make shows like this and keep on race swapping characters. I feel like the show would have worked so much better if it was just named something else and it didn't have anything to do with Scooby-Doo at all, because Scooby is not even in it in the first place. And even if they were hell-bent on making a remake, at least they should have just left the characters as we already knew them before, instead of them resorting to changing things like their race and personality just to tick boxes and score points for promoting diversity and representation. Anyways, that's all I have for you today. Leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you're new here. I'd love to know your thoughts on Velma if you watched it. That would be fun to read in the comments, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.